Hi, Tom Ninness here from New American Funding, and I want to talk about casting for success. And this is a true fish story. I am not a golfer, plain and simple. I've been on the golf course maybe a dozen times in my life, and it's been absolutely miserable. I don't have a clue where the ball is going or where it's going to end up or who it's going to hit. Fishing is my game. And now that I have grandchildren, I now have little buddies to take fishing. So last summer, I took my 5-year-old, who's now 6, Elijah, fishing, and it was an awesome experience for him and also for me as he landed his first fish with a little help from Grandpa. You know, getting ready for the big day, I started going through my fishing gear and I ran across a wonderful fish finder Christmas gift I got from my sons decades ago that I needed to change the batteries. Now this wasn't your ordinary fish finder. This one was rigged up to your fishing line, and then you would cast it out from the bank of a lake or a river to search for fish. And it came with this wristwatch, so you would cast and you would reel it in, and eventually you would run into the fish. And I even tried it in an aquarium, and it seemed like it worked well. I couldn't wait to try out this gadget when I got it. I even tried, like I said, with a fish aquarium, and I was able to spot a couple of my little fish. So it was the first Saturday that I had the availability to fish using this tool with my youngest son, Aaron, who's now not young anymore. He's 34 years old. And we met at the Aurora Reservoir to try our luck fishing off the shore. There was already a bunch of hopeful fishermen well before we showed up. And of course, I wanted to know how they were doing. And when you ask a fisherman some questions like, how are they biting? Have you caught anything? What bait are you using? You're not sure if you're really getting a straight answer or not. As fishermen tend to not volunteer a lot of information, especially if they are doing well, as they want to tend to keep their secrets to themselves. The answers we got were all mixed. A couple of bites here and there. A guy down on the other side got one fish. Basically, things were pretty slow, is what I summed up from their answers. Aaron hooked up the fish finder since he wanted to be the first one to experiment with it, and he threw it out into the lake. While he was finding the fish, I noticed all the other fishermen around me were sending out their lures and different baits way out in the lake, probably about 30 yards. Since I hadn't fished this reservoir much, I would assume those around me have fished that area, and so that's where I thought the fish were. But all of a sudden, Aaron yelled, "Dad, the fish are just 15 feet out." So we did small casts into the lake, and sure enough, bam, we each hooked up 2 beautiful trout. The fishermen around us asked, "What are you using?" We were using salmon eggs, as they were also. We casted again, and bam, 2 more trout were hooked, and we had our limit within 15 minutes. We continued to fish and threw back at least 20 more fish over the next 45 minutes. One fisherman said that he was getting upset with us because we were catching so many. So when we decided that we had fished enough, we gathered our gear and headed to the car. You should have seen the mad dash to our fishing spot. I told Aaron, I said, let's hang out and see how they do. And guess what? Nothing. They didn't observe that we were just fishing 15 feet away. And from the shore, they continued to cast 30 yards out into the lake. Here's a few fishing analogies that line up well with selling and prospecting. Prospecting where the customers are. You know, lakes and ponds are great places for fish to live. They produce abundant plants, food, and offer plenty of coverage for the fish to hide. Fishermen need to learn their lake structure, the points, inlets, holes, where the logs are, vegetation, etc. The same holds true for us, the sales professional. You know, blindly calling clients without doing research is a waste of time. Do as much discovery as possible. Use technology as your friend. Time, day, season, temperature. When it comes to fishing, you have to understand air and water and temperature, the time of day, and how fish react during the weather seasons. The same holds true for potential clients. Knowing their buying triggers, the best time to call, and when the best time to reach the prospect and is all important for us sales professionals. If you have been reading any of my letters or listening to my videos, then you know that I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I take the early hours to plan my day, which includes spending a good half hour on LinkedIn. These are actions that I do during the, I call non-human hours, which means I do these task off hours where I can't talk or meet people because they're still sleeping. I spend my human hours of 8 to 5 engaged with them. Be careful with your time. Do your projects and reconnaissance in the early mornings or late evenings and spend your working hours with your clients. Using the right equipment and technique is also important. You know, I fished a number of times in Alaska for king salmon, and when the kings are migrating to their spawning grounds, they have only one thing in their mind, and that is spawning. So to get a king to bite your hook, you have to irritate them. Get something that interrupts their mission of spawning, and they will then go after your hook. The lure you have to use has to be the right shape, the color, and big enough to tick them off. Using the right marketing techniques to interrupt the client to listen or read your pitch is also so important in today's marketplace. As one of the 3 seconds, as little as 1 to 3 seconds is all you have to capture the prospect's attention on your website or on your marketing piece. Analyze your marketing pieces, make sure that they have the right color. Does the writing capture and hold the prospect who want to learn more about you and what you have to offer? Know when to set the hook. I love setting the hook, but you got to know when to do it. So you've done your homework, you know the locations, the weather is good, you have the right tackle, and you've worked on your technique. The same is true in selling. You spend time scoping out your prospects, the timing is right to contact them, and you've practiced your scripts and dialogues, and you have the documents in hand to close the deal. Now the question is, do you know when to set the hook? Do you set the hook as soon as you feel anything different on the line? Do you set it hard or just a quick wrist movement? What do? The same holds true in your close of your client. Try a simple question like this. So, Mr. Prospect, based on what we've discussed, does it make sense for us to start working together? In most cases, strong arming anybody is not going to be powerful compared to just a little flick of the wrist. 99% of the time you will win by just a little flick. The last point I want to make is netting the big fish. Always try to land a bigger fish with the net. You got to have something with you to help you. So you place the net into the water and you lead the fish into the net head first. If you don't get it to come into the net the first time, you re-aim it and try again. The same holds true with bigger accounts. You have to have a bigger value proposition to land them, and it might take a few attempts in bringing in that bigger account. Patience and persistence will help you land those bigger accounts. The more you fish, the better chances you have of catching a big fish. The same holds true with prospecting. The more you prospect, the better the chances that a big account will come swimming in front of you. You hook it, and you want to hang on. See, fishing is fun, but you can get stumped once in a while. That's why they don't call it catching, they call it fishing. Same holds true for selling, or they would call it easy pickings. When other fishermen ask me if I've caught anything, and if I haven't, my answer will not be no, it will be not yet. As Zig Ziglar quoted, and I love this one, confidence is going after Moby Dick in a rowboat and taking the tartar sauce with you. Thanks for listening.